Today, we gather for a very important session with respect to the World Economic Forum's long-standing role in the Middle East peace process. We all recognize that there are circumstances today in the region, new opportunities that must be seized upon the actors in the region, and we have the great pleasure to have some of the key actors today with us. But they must be also seized by the international community. We know that there are a number of new initiatives that have been undertaken, inclusive next month in London, the conference under the impetus of Prime Minister Tony Blair. What we intend to do in the next 60 minutes is to use the occasion for a frank and open discussion. We will ask the tough questions. And let me make a special plea to our panel members. All of us know what the problems, the main problems and issues are in the region, the main points of contention on each side. Let's not rehash in the next 60 minutes well-known problems. Let's not be recriminating. Let's use this opportunity as a chance to increase trust and build confidence between the two sides. My colleague, Fred Zicker, will be moderating the discussion, and I have asked him to be vigilant about the timekeeping aspect so to allow a fair and balanced dialogue.
Thank you very much, Professor Schwab. As you have mentioned, this is a session of hope. This is a session about developing trust and also looking at the very critical and complex issues that are now in front of these leaders that are here in front of you. Indeed, it has been a very, very long time since at ministerial level both sides have come together in a public arena, and we are humbled and privileged at the same time that they have given the World Economic Forum their trust and are here today with us. We have a series of questions. Each panelist will have 3 minutes to answer a question, and each member of the panel will be able to ask for a point of order or a rebuttal for 1 minute. I will be keeping time, and when time is overdue, I have a bell here that I will ring, so I am a moderator but also a concierge for this session. I would like to ask the first question to Vice Prime Minister Olmert about the situation that is developing currently in the peace process and in retaking contact between the two sides. Some are calling this a last window of opportunity, and we'd like to ask you, how are you going to seize this moment? And how are you going to build on this glimmer of hope? 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I understand that my answer is important, first and foremost, because it may set the tone for the subsequent discussion, so it adds an additional responsibility. I indeed think that there is a window of opportunity. There is a dramatic change which is shaping up and taking place in the Middle East, based on two major developments. One is the fact that for the first time since 1967, the State of Israel is prepared to pull out from territories and dismantle settlements voluntarily, without an outside pressure, not in the context of any particular event, but as a result of realization that things have to move, we have to change the status quo, and that it is incumbent upon us to set the direction, the timetables, and move forward fast. It has never been done before, voluntarily. It is the first time, and I think that when one looks at the pains of this process taking place in the State of Israel and the complexities of this within the context of Israeli politics, one can understand only how dramatic is the change which is taking place in the State of Israel. So this is number one. Number two is the emergence of a democratically elected leadership within the Palestinian Authority. No one can underestimate the dramatic significance of the democratic elections in the Palestinian Authority and the election of a leader with a 62% majority. It's not common in Arab countries to be elected in such a small majority, but for the present elections in the Palestinian Authority, I think it was a very powerful manifestation of a will to change, which we recognize and respect. Now, the most important thing for us is to be able to set the right priorities. The temptation in everything that happens on a daily basis in the Middle East to be swayed away, to be carried outside of the mainstream, is almost irresistible sometimes. Every day there will be an event that will take place, maybe on both sides, that can interfere with the goals that we set forth for ourselves. The question that we have to decide upon, the two sides, is whether we are looking for excuses to justify further delays, or we are prepared to take this process forward powerfully without succumbing to all these temptations that may arise on a daily basis. Because we all know that there will be attempts by all sides within the Palestinians and in the context of the complexities of Israeli politics that may influence this process in a negative way. So it depends on two things at the end of the day. One is the atmosphere that both sides set for this, and the other thing is the ability to resist the temptations to find excuses why to stall it. Thank you.
Mr. Yasser Abed Rabo, you are a member of the Executive Committee of the PLO, and we'd like to ask the same question to you. What are you going to do to seize this opportunity?
Thank you. Well, around 20 days ago, we had a newly elected president. He did not need a vast majority, or I would say even a repetition of the elections to have his legitimacy. He was elected by the people with the hope that there will be a new beginning for the peace process and a change in the conditions in the ground. Abu Mazen had a simple idea at the beginning. He said that let us try to get out of this vicious circle of conditionality. We should not move, the other side should not move unless the counterpart will start implementing what he should do in the roadmap, and of course neither side will be satisfied with the implementation of the other. So he started in a very short period with a process to bring back law and order in Gaza, to put an end to this circle of violence, and to start implementing the roadmap, which states that there should be a commitment and a reciprocal implementation of ending of violence by both sides. Well, I think that we had achieved a lot in a very short period of time. But now we are faced with the major questions. How the roadmap should be implemented. The roadmap cannot be implemented if the same approach of conditionality will persist. The roadmap cannot be implemented if one side will wait the other until the other is doing everything that should be done, and then I say I'm satisfied and maybe I'll start or not start implementing my part of the roadmap. So conditionality should be dropped and should be replaced by reciprocity. Each side should implement what is included in the roadmap. This is one major element. Another element is we have started long time ago the process of the reform, and we intend to continue this process so that we will be able to establish an independent Palestinian state, a developed one and a democratic one. But this all needs a political horizon to show that there will be an end to occupation. And this means there is a need for the resumption of final status negotiations for ending the occupation and building a Palestinian independent state on the lines of 67 side by side by Israel, with Israel.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Rabo. We will come back to the issue of reform shortly. The next question is for Mr. Peres, who was recently quoted as saying that Mr. Mahmoud Abbas, and I quote here, is a moderate man who was elected, an intelligent man, an experienced man. Let's give him a chance. I continue, there is a new legitimate Palestinian leadership whose leaders definitely are against terror and war. Now, some of you may recall that in 1987, Foreign Minister of Germany, Mr. Genscher, in this very hall on this stage, when talking about Mr. Gorbachev, said his famous sentence, "Let's give him a chance." And history books refer to this moment as the beginning of the end of the Cold War. Now, Mr. Peres, what is the Israeli government committed to doing to giving Mr. Abbas a chance?
For me, it is the 11th time that I participate in the Davos meetings. Many of them were devoted to the Middle East, and my feeling is like the magic has returned to the mountain. I feel that we are again approaching a new age. What surprised me so pleasantly is not the fact that Mr. Abbas was elected in such a convincing democratic way, and not only his declarations. He's a man that says what he thinks, but what surprised me is the implementation. It's the first time that I can recall that somebody takes a leadership on, and in a few days, he changed the whole atmosphere in the Middle East, or at least between us and the Palestinians. You know, I'm not a member of the Mr. Sharon party. As a matter of fact, I never voted for him. But I must say that what I say about Abbas, I can say about Mr. Sharon as well. I mean, all of a sudden there is a meeting not of minds, but also of moods. And over the last few days, I was pleasantly surprised by the actions taken by the two sides. I want to say in a few words the problems I see. Vis-à-vis the great opportunity, the political opportunity, is the political structure which is very weak. We have to handle a very complicated situation with a broken structure on both sides, and we have to strengthen the structure. Secondly, the gap between the immediacy of the problems and the delays of the solutions. We are going to be supposed to be out of Gaza by October or something like it. Solutions will take longer than that, to pave roads, to build parks, and so on. And we must be very careful that a gap will not become a trap for the Palestinian people. We have to act with full speed so the economic consequences of the political agreement will come as soon as possible. I think we are trying together to take the necessary measures to facilitate the passages, the traffic. And may I say that, to the best of my knowledge, the meeting between Sharon and Abu Mazen is well prepared this time. and I believe there won't be many disappointments. I mean, agreed by the two sides. And the third point is, while the list of the needs is clear, the list of the supply of the resources is not clear enough. We need more support in order to do so. But by and large, it's a very important occasion. And I believe I can say on behalf of my colleagues and on behalf of the Prime Minister that we shall try to do whatever we can in order not to miss the opportunity. It started as a unilateral enterprise. Mr. Abu Mazen also decided about the unilateral approach. He says, I shall do without asking the Israelis for anything in advance. So the two unilateral divorces became a sort of a relationship that enables the two partners to move ahead. It's a very unique occasion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yasser Abed Rabo, we're now going to talk about security, the critical issue of security. It's been, as you've mentioned, the first step that you and Mahmoud Abbas and your colleagues have taken in terms of unifying Palestinian security, getting weapons off the street, and trying to restore law and order and preventing militants from attacking Israel. How exactly are you achieving this? And if the weapons are coming off the street, how are you going to sustain that?
Well, there are a series of security measures that had started since last week. I'm really interested with the political side. I think that in order to guarantee that any security measures will be sustained, there is a need for a serious political process to begin. Unilateralism on the Israeli side, which starts with Gaza, cannot be a policy that we will accept for all the coming stages. We cannot be subcontractors for Israeli unilateral moves, especially that we are interested in having a comprehensive solution, a solution that will close all gaps, a solution that will give a horizon and give hope for both nations that the vision of the two states will be implemented.
So how are you achieving?
That's why we had declared in a very clear term through the first speech of Mr. Abu Mazen that side by side with Gaza Strip, there should be a resumption of the final status negotiations. Side by side with Gaza Strip, we should show that there is a possibility of a comprehensive solution. As long as we have a chance now, why to miss it? A chance for having such a solution that we will be able to have a just and lasting peace for the two nations. And in this way also, we will find not only security answer to the problems we are facing, but we will have an everlasting political answer to these problems.
Thank you, Mr. Rabo. Deputy Prime Minister Shalom, probably we have reserved for you one of the most difficult questions. Is Israel going to be satisfied with a 100% effort from the Palestinian side, even if the results are not 100%? And what does 100% mean to you?
First, I'm very happy to be here today while we are sitting here with our Palestinian neighbors in the same stage, in totally different atmosphere. There is a new era now. I will always say that, and I'm sorry to repeat it, but if Arafat won't be there, it will be a new situation that a new moderate Palestinian leadership, moderate and pragmatic, will emerge. There are not so many Israelis that believed that after a short time we will have now an end of those missiles that were firing toward Israel on a daily basis. I'm very happy that we are having it now, but still more needs to be done. And more needs to be done in order to prevent those terrorist attacks that the extremists would like to carry out against Israel. The crucial moment will come if we will suffer from a terrorist attack that will be a huge one. And the main question will be then, if this attack was carried out while Abu Mazen is trying very hard to prevent it, or while he is not doing anything to stop it. We know it's not so easy, and it won't take a few days to stop it, but we would like to see the beginning. And while we speak about 100% of efforts, in general, it's to dismantle the infrastructure of terrorist organizations, to put an end to terrorism, violence, and incitement. But what does it mean? It means to shut down the laboratories that are producing those missiles and all kinds of weapons, to put an end to the smuggling of weapons that is coming from the Egyptian side of the border through the tunnels that the Palestinians are digging into Gaza, to confiscate illegal weapons, to arrest wanted people, to indict those that are behind those terrorist attacks. There are many things that can be done.
Assuming they're being done, sir, looking forward, assuming all this is being done, 100% effort, even if the results are not 100%.
I think still, if we're going to suffer from more attacks, it will be very painful anyway. But it will be totally different if it will be during a period of time that they are trying to stop it, or they are not doing anything to stop it. Because this government, and I think all of us should know, will not stand a parallel tracks, let's say, or will not participate in a situation that we are going to have terrorist attacks by day, funerals in the afternoon, and negotiations in nice hotels at night. And I think it's very, very important to know that we will be very happy if they will start do what they have done now against the missiles. It shows that they are determined, it shows that they are capable, and if they will do so against those terrorist attacks, I think it will be a very good opening, while in the same time we should implement our commitments as well. That's what I believe. And our commitments in the roadmap in phase 1 are very clear: to resolve to the lines of the 28th of September 2000, before the Intifada started, and to remove those unauthorized outposts that still left there, and they are still during a legal process.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to come back to the peace process and to the roadmap. Minister Salam Fayyad, you have been one of the critical leaders on the Palestinian side in terms of reform of institutions. But before we get to that, I wanted to ask you, does the disengagement of Israel in Gaza actually aspire to your expectations?
Thank you, Fred. I think, indeed, it does have the potential, indeed great potential, for being responsive to our aspirations, provided that it is, and that it is seen as part of an effort leading to ending occupation. It has to be, and it has to be seen as an occupation-ending effort. And by that, I do not mean only in Gaza, but also, and as importantly, in the West Bank as well, to ensure that we indeed have an effort that leads to ending the occupation that began in 1967. So yes, the short answer to your question is, and we see it as indeed having that potential, subject to these key qualifications Of course, of importance when we talk about Gaza itself is to ensure that withdrawal is complete, that it would lead to a Gaza that is open, Gaza that has access to the world economy, and of course, what we always say, and we mean it of course, this effort has to be an integral part of the effort to implement the roadmap. Of course, I agree with what has been said about the sense of priorities today. I think key amongst our areas of interest at this stage ought to be the creation of sense of hope and sense of possibility that indeed this effort can be productive and can lead indeed to a lasting and fair settlement of this long-standing conflict. I think it's essential. And key to attaining it, of course, is for both Palestinians and Israelis to have sense of peace of mind about this. I believe nothing can be more detrimental to the possibility of having this sense of hope or sense of possibility develop, and most importantly, for that to be sustained, nothing can be more detrimental to that effort than the feeling on the part of either side of some sense or perception of risk of loss of life. That is certainly true for Israelis, but it is equally also true for Palestinians as well. And to do that, it is of course important that there be an immediate, a mutual cessation of violence. I think this is absolutely key to the effort going forward. For us, of course, as I said, this has to be seen as part of an effort leading to ending the occupation. It is also important, as we look at the priorities going forward, that enough attention be devoted to economic development, to doing what can be done, especially in the immediate future, to bridge the gap between the needs of the here and now and what has to be done to sustain development over the medium term and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next question is to you, Mr. Perez. Mr. Yasser Abed-Rabbo mentioned that in the future stages should not be a unilateral one, but one of cooperation. Now that there is new leadership and a new momentum on the Palestinian side, should the Gaza withdrawal actually continue to be a unilateral effort, or could it be turned into a collaborative one?
When two unilateral actions are being done in agreement, it stops being unilateral. It's become bilateral. That's what's happening, in fact. Secondly, may I say that the development is not just inspirational, but also climatic. If now the success will be complete, everybody will change his mind. Don't listen to the now expression of prophecy. A better climate will change it. I, like Abed-Rabbo, I would like to have the happy end at the beginning. But I'm a little bit more moderate than you. I'm satisfied with having the happy beginning at the beginning. And we have agreed on several points. We agreed about the Palestinian state. And this time when I say we, I'm referring not just to the Labour Party. That's a very important development. It's the majority of the people of Israel. It's the view of the Israeli government. We have agreed to end the occupation. We have agreed to implement the roadmap. In the following stages, I believe that the cessation of fire, as you have mentioned, is very, very important. I think we are near it, and we pray that this will become a reality. So the problem, if it's 100% implementation, 100% effort, doesn't matter. If we shall have a cessation of hostilities, this is the most important development right away. And then, as our foreign minister said, then we shall go to the 28th of September, which means that was the Palestinians expect. What really surprised me pleasantly was the speed of the development in real terms. So let's not be so determined on words and ignoring the facts. The facts this time are quicker than our declarations. And I think we have to really keep the momentum, politically, security-wise, but also economically. We have to enable the Palestinian people in Gaza to feel that they got something tangible out of this agreement. It's not just tuning the declarations or looking at the future, but in immediate terms, because the people in Gaza suffer a very terrible state, and we have to mobilize all of us, whatever we can, to create an immediate sense that peace is not just a promise, but peace is an immediate change in their life. And I think that we have to work together to do so. We don't have to have new plans. The Middle East is full of plans, I assure you. We have to have acts that will change the daily life of the people. My own point is very simple. The better the Palestinians will have it, better neighbors we shall have. It's our interest to see you people succeed. And in addition to what you have described rightly, as an act of political democracy, we need an act of economic democracy. Because political democracy is one thing, economic democracy is tangible and immediate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Peres, you mentioned the issue of speed. Minister Maher Masri, when it comes to the peace process, are you going to be placing more importance on gradual solutions and achieving some victories as we go along? Or are you going to prefer a rapid approach addressing all the contentious issues immediately?
Thank you, Fred. First, let me say that I personally believe that there is a window of opportunity for all parties concerned in the Middle East. And we hope that things will work out right so that we go back to the political track to reach out a final political solution. Number two, we have to remember that we are still an occupied people and occupied territories. And in our upcoming talks, negotiations, discussions with Israel, our baseline and yardstick shall be based on UN resolutions, international law, and signed agreements between Israel and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Number three, I think that on our part, we are doing our best to establish law and order within our territories, first and foremost for the sake of our people, and the spillover, that positive spillover, will reach Israel, and things will be coming in terms of a peace, quietness on the ground. That's what we will try to do. Number four, I think we should address all issues immediately. Solutions can come in time, but all issues must be addressed immediately. All political and economic issues must be addressed immediately. And politics and economics are so intertwined in our area that we cannot really separate them. Political issues related to implementation of the roadmap. Political issues related to settlements. Political issues related to the wall. Economic issues related to crossing points, to logistics, means of transportation, freedom of movement of people and commodities, interaction with the rest of the world. We will try to address all these issues specifically, rather than go across the board and talk about issues in a general term and end up nowhere in the near future. Our intention is to grab this opportunity in order to reach a political solution. A political solution, in our opinion, cannot be reached unilaterally. It's got to be dealt with bilaterally, each issue on its own. What does Israel want from this? We shall insist that Israel takes no more actions on the ground imposed on us and ultimately given the umbrella of bilateralism. This, we hope, shall end very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Fred?
Yes?
It says here on the piece of paper you gave us that anyone can intervene for 2 minutes.
1 minute.
Outside
1
the
minute.
3 minutes time framework he gets for any answer.
No,
right?
you can go ahead for 1 minute if you wish.
For one?
Yes, we had to change the timing inside, as I told you.
All right. Just briefly. I hope I understood my friend Mr. Masri correctly. We are the counterparts. He's the Minister of Trade. I am the Minister of Trade. I think that the beauty of the Israeli initiative, that is known as the unilateral implementation and so on and so forth, is the fact that instead of continuing debates about general truth and about general principles and about destiny and about eternity, we set a timetable and said, we are pulling out, we are moving, we are changing the status quo in the Middle East. Everything that happens now is a result of this. And therefore, what I suggest is that we will adopt this approach. I don't argue now that it's always preferable to have an agreement and not a unilateral action. But the most important thing is to act and not only to talk. Declarations are very important. Actions on the ground are more. And once the implementation of the disengagement will take place, even if it will be unilateral at the beginning, it will have such dramatic impact on the realities of life that everything else will follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Olmert. In view of time, I am now going to have to give only 2 minutes for the next answers. And the next question is for Deputy Prime Minister Salam. Minister Olmert, you mentioned action on the ground. One of the actions on the grounds is the issue of dismantling settlements. And you also have, Deputy Prime Minister, in your society, some elements that are not willing to compromise. So are you and your government willing and committed to bringing these elements to compromise? And how can this be done? And I'm sorry, 2 minutes.
As you know, it's not so easy, because for the first time, an Israeli government will withdraw from the West Bank and Gaza. And to dismantle settlements, it means not only to dismantle settlements, it means to evacuate people that are living there for 35 years. It's the third generation already. And they are using everything, of course, in order to prevent it. Even by saying that the only government in the world that is expelling Jews from their homes is the Israeli one. And it's not so easy. There are 8,000 people that are living there. They are there, as I've said, for many years. They would have to leave. What about the graves that will be left behind? The relatives that are buried there? There is a huge dispute, and it might bring a rift within our people. And I'm coming from this wing that feel their pain. But still, we are living in a democracy. And for a government to take a decision that will be approved short time later after the parliament, the Knesset, and we won't be able to do it, it will be the end of our democracy. So we need to try to talk to them. We need to try to convince them. My personal view is that if we would have a referendum, it would have been much easier. But while the Prime Minister is not in favor of that, we can't have a referendum without the acceptance, of course, of the Prime Minister. So until then, we are now going to have the final vote in a month from today, and the implementation will start in June and July. Let's hope that we will agree to do it with the settlers in a way that will bring minimum tension and, we hope, without any casualties.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Both Maher, Masri, and Yasser Abed Rabo have asked for their minutes. So in terms of spirit of cooperation with me in time, I'm going to give you 30 seconds and you 30 seconds. That makes 1 minute.
I'd say thank you, Fred, and that's it.
Maher, please.
Thank you.
30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't do that.
Yeah, we understand the difficulty of the Israeli government in taking out the settlers. But in all honesty and respectfully to what was said by Mr. Shalom, settlers and settlements should not have been there in the first place. This is in complete violation of international law. So let us not talk about human factors there, how they are going to be uprooted from these settlements and the dead and what have you. They shouldn't have been there. This is not only our opinion, that's ICJ opinion, that's a lot of Israeli opinion talking about it. So we realize the difficulty, Mr. Shalom. We hope that you will do it nicely and implement it across the board also for the West Bank. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Masri. In terms of institution building, Minister Fayyad, what is on your priority list in terms of reforms of institutions that you've already begun, which is critical particularly if foreign aid and foreign assistance is to be encouraged to come into the Palestinian territories? Very briefly, please.
2 minutes?
A minute and a half.
All right, I'm negotiating now. Well, the key priority going forward is to build on the progress that has been achieved over the past 2+ years in several spheres, including, of course, area of financial accountability and transparency. As many of you know, a great deal of progress was accomplished over this period of time, and we are now comfortable that we have the key building blocks of a well-functioning, sound financial system, one with high degree of integrity. One of the things that we need to take care of going forward is the residual perception problem when it comes to the manner in which we are handling our finances. Of course, when you have or develop a credibility problem when it comes to managing money, that sort of problem tends to linger. And so far as perceptions are concerned, we view it as a serious issue and something that we have to address. I like to believe, indeed I do believe, that our reputation in this area is a little bit worse than reality. Our task in the period ahead is to bring into better alignment the perception of what's going on with what actually is going on there. I believe this has been a matter of review by various institutions, and we got good rating, and I think we can make more progress in the period ahead. 2 quick words insofar as reform is concerned. Of course, reform is not only It's not only about building better financial institutions and enhancing accountability and transparency, but various spheres of governance, including, of course, judiciary, political reform, and none can be more impressive, I think, than what I regard as crowning accomplishment, a very important link, significant link in a long chain of reform, and I'm here referring to the presidential election that was held on January 9th, by all accounts, very open, transparent, and fair election. In doing all of these things, the objective is to ensure that we have in place the institutions that are strong, credible, competent, capable of running the affairs of the state in a fair and fully transparent manner. That's the overriding objective. In doing so, of course, it sounds as if we have implicitly accepted the notion that in order to qualify to be free, we have to become like almost ideal citizens of the world. Needless to say, this is not a fair test. The reality is the reality. We have to deal with it. This case is not going to be one of the strength of argumentation. We have to do what we have to do, but in no way, manner, shape, or form should any residue or perception about less than completely good governance be a pretext for prolonging the occupation any longer than it has. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. I am going to hand over the floor to Professor Schwab. There were two more questions on the economy, but Professor Schwab also has a very important part to play here. And the only thing I can say about the economy is invite all of you to join us in Jordan on the 20th of May, where the World Economic Forum will be meeting by the Dead Sea. We hope to continue the momentum, and I would like to wish all of you a lot of best wishes also moving forward. One plea to the business community is there's no sense in being bystanders here. If the Palestinians and Israelis feel that you are willing, maybe not to invest tomorrow, but at least to start looking at what is possible and to start looking at what is available, and having that momentum going from the private sector side would give wind to the sails of the political leaders that are here and would certainly give hope to the people on the ground as well. Let me hand over to Professor Schwab.
We have all seen here a window of opportunity which has been opened. And we are very privileged to have been part of such an extraordinary session. There will be many difficulties, but we have seen that you are taking responsibility for the tough questions and for the tough decisions which have to be made. I would like to ask you a question. Actually, after the discussion which we had, this question is not even necessary, but it's a commitment. And the question would be, what is your own personal commitment to engage with the process of creating a situation where two states can live together in peace? Please, one sentence, 30 seconds for each of our speakers. What is your own personal commitment? Mr. Olmert, let's go.
One by one. One sentence.
I suggest that each of us, in his own area of responsibility, will do what can be done in order to move one step forward. The common goal is accepted. Israel has made it clear. We are aiming at finally reaching a situation where a Palestinian state will live alongside the state of Israel as an independent state. This is the policy of the government of Israel, accepted by the majority of the people of Israel. In my capacity as Minister of Trade and Industry, I'm ready immediately to engage in a series of contacts in order to work together with my counterparts in the Palestinian side in order to influence the building up of an infrastructure for an independent Palestinian economy that will help improve the quality of life of the Palestinian people. And I can say, and I'm sure that Mr. Perez will join me because we discussed it already, we are ready to immediately engage in making a deal with the Palestinians about the Erez Industrial Park in Gaza, which may become the basis for an independent industry in Gaza of the Palestinians and for the Palestinians.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Well, let me say that the PLO, the PA, and the Palestinian people are fully committed to a two-state solution. An independent, viable Palestinian state with contiguity of its territory, living side by side by Israel, and a secure border, and a secure Israel, and a secure Palestinian state. That's our commitment, and that's what we are working for, and that is why we say, please do not do any unilateral action that will not make it possible for this Palestinian independent entity to be realized in the future.
Deputy Prime Minister Shalom.
I think the only formula that can last for a long time is based on reciprocity. It means that the Palestinians will ease the life of the Israelis by putting an end to terrorism and violence, and the Israelis will ease the life of the Palestinians by improving their life. It means by giving them the possibility to manage their life, to have more freedom of movement, to cancel many roadblocks as much as we can, checking points, and by that it will be much easier for them to improve their life. But more than that, we were asking for common projects for a very, very long time. And I believe it will be now much easier. Of course, with the assistance of the international community, it will be very, very important to do it, because if both sides will realize that they are having a benefit from this new process, it will be much easier for the leaders from both sides to move forward toward peace. Thank you.
Please. Thank you. If it bears repetition, yes, indeed, we are firmly and deeply committed to the realization of a two-state solution as a formula for ending this conflict on a lasting basis. Of course, I agree with what has been said about economic development and the important role which that plays in supporting the process going forward and in enhancing the quality of life, not only of the Palestinian people, but for the region as a whole, as uncertainty begins to diminish and dissipate once progress is being made on a lasting basis. But the point I would like to emphasize here is that, important though as it is, and it is very important, economic development is no substitute for credible, durable, and sustainable progress on the political track of this process. This is absolutely essential, and that goal certainly is not helped by the perception on the part of us, the Palestinians, of constantly receding borderline and with it constantly diminishing territory. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shimon?
From my point of view, a Palestinian state on the side of the Israeli state is a Israeli need, not only a Palestinian need. And that is my basic approach. The sooner, the better. And may I say, if you can have a sea, why satisfy with a drop? Many people, and I think, by the way, Salam, that we have to separate politically and coordinate economically. We don't have a choice. This is modern economy. I know that many people say I'm very optimistic, I'm an optimist, but yesterday I tried to defend myself by saying that optimists and pessimists die the same way. They live differently.
Bravo. Thank you. Well, my dream is to see, in fact, partnership through negotiations and not coordination for implementing unilateral imposed solutions. The second dream I have is to see a beginning of a process that will lead to establishment of a Palestinian independent state on the lines of '67, as it was envisaged in Geneva Accord. This plan, which had presented a very concrete, pragmatic formula for resolving the conflict. But with what is currently going on the ground now, building the wall around the Palestinian populated areas and the expansion of the settlement blocks, I'm afraid that my dream will be lost. I don't want this to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me share with you my dream. And it is a dream which I have since quite some time and discussed with many of the friends here on both sides. Shimon, you will recall our discussion 11, 12 years ago. The World Economic Forum had only once a reason to move out of Davos, and you know, in 2002, when we showed solidarity to New York, and we went to New York. Now, my dream is to have one day the World Economic Forum have it taking place in Bethlehem. And in order, of course, we are very close when we have our meeting at the Dead Sea in May, but really such a meeting in Bethlehem would demonstrate that there are two states and we can, and it's a peaceful region, it's a prospering region. Now, in order to make my dream, to remind our speakers of my dream, and I know you all share this dream, I would like you to come up and to give to our speakers a small symbolic gift. And it's actually a mountain crystal. And you know, there's nothing more symbolic than a mountain crystal for unity in diversity, or diversity in unity, however you want to call it. Now, on the mountain crystal is a small plate, and it says World Economic Forum, Bethlehem, date to be announced soon. Please join me. I would like to thank our speakers. I would like to, on behalf of all of you, because it's our own destiny, our children's destiny which is at stake, I would like you all to wish them the best for the very difficult undertakings they will be faced with in the next months. Thank you.